All of your favorite YouTube gurus agree unanimously that if you continue to watch videos from Iman or from Alex Hormozi, your luck is not going to change by itself. Your agency is not going to be built by itself. In fact, they all agree that you need to make a shift, a conscious choice to become the man in front of the camera and not the person behind the screen. You need to become at the cause, not at the effect. Now, that is something easier said than done. And the fact that 90%, 95% of people who try and set up agencies, SMMAs and online businesses never actually succeed. The failure rate is colossal. And it's not a lack of knowledge. It's not a gap of information. Information is so readily available. It's a gap of limiting beliefs and mindsets. And I can speak and draw from years of experience from setting up a previous business as a coach and now as an agency again, the second agency that I'm setting up. There are so many things at play and I have spent a ton of time thinking about them, and I'm wanting to draw them out into the open because there are some objections and limitations that a lot of people, everyone speaks of, and then there are some that are probably more personal to you that no one actually brings up. And those are the ones that actually never get addressed. Those are the ones that hold most people paralyzed, crippled, and unable to actually set out to accomplish what they desired from the beginning, to build 6-figure, 7-figure businesses, to retire their parents, to live a life of wealth, abundance, and basically to avoid a mediocre life, a pathetic 9-to-5, or however way they perceive that. And so with that being said, I think it's important to preempt that by far the number one success factor is having a robust acquisition system for a service-based business, of course. So getting clients, getting booked appointments in your calendar is the number one thing that separates failure from success. And there is nothing that's going to contribute to your abundance mindset, to your confidence, and ultimately to building your competence than having a calendar jam-packed of appointments. And when you know how to get that calendar full, then your entire life changes. This has been my mission for 5 years now. This has been my mission prior to that for 5 years as well. Abundance in dating and relationships. This is why the first business that I ever set up was a coaching company that was basically coaching guys how to be abundant in their dating life. Now it's about how to be abundant in your business life. And it's easier said than done, but actually once you address your limiting beliefs, it's also done quite easily as well. And because of that, our agency is called SACA, which is set appointments, close appointments. We know that from the same sources. And this is the second agency that I'm setting up this year. The first one is Unfazed Media. And basically, this is where we address and debunk and demystify all of the seemingly complicated ways to acquire clients. Not because information is not available. The gap is not informational. The gap is of limiting beliefs, like I've already alluded. And so let's dive right in because I have a ton of experience on some of the most important pillars. So they are a client acquisition system based on emails, client acquisition system based on ads, because I am a media buyer. I have been buying media for the last 5 years, spent over 10 million in ads across all social media platforms. Then there's a channel based on DMs and automation with Facebook and Instagram outreach and LinkedIn outreach. And then finally, there's one which is inbound, which is content, brand building, which is getting more and more trendy by the day for good reason. So that being said, let's start and answer the question, why did I not run ads for myself? Despite running ads for coaches, for business owners for 5 years now. Well, the number one objection there, the number one limitation was that I always thought that that's not going to work for me. You know, it's a typical limitation where you think it's going to work for everyone else, but for some reason it's not going to work for you. Why? I don't know. Some people might say it's because of the lack of experience, because they're too young. That's a pretty big one. Because, you know, I personally thought that because I have an accent, for example, I'm never going to be able to resonate to American or British crowds, right? What else is there? Let's think about it. A fear of losing money. A fear of losing money and not breaking even on your thing. A belief that there's only one way to do it, a right way to do it, to run ads, and there is no other way that works. See, this is a problem with black and white thinking. This is a cognitive error in thinking where you think that unless you pull it off exactly how it should be by the book, then nothing's going to work and you're going to lose all your money, you're going to fail, and you're going to embarrass yourself. That goes hand in hand with thinking that you need another course, thinking that you need to see another video on how to do it. Nothing further from the truth. The shift here that's made all the difference to me was to finally adopt a learning and testing mindset. And the ability to do that was to basically limit or overcome the limitation that it needs to cost a ton of money. It doesn't. You can literally put $200-$300 aside for 1 month or for 60 days, however much you're comfortable with, and just think of it as burning money. You're just going to burn this money to test. You're going to pay for education and for personal experience and for crushing your limitations, because once you do it once, it's like unplugging a bottle. It just starts pouring out. It starts flowing like a river. Once you see your face in an ad and you finally overcome that barrier that ads are just for other people, they're not for you, it just becomes second nature. After that, it's just a case of, right, let's test another angle, another idea, another backdrop, another script. It just becomes fun. This is where we are now. This is in our agency. This is where I am in running ads for myself, with myself. And yes, I wish I'd known this years ago, because instead of thinking that you're going to only do it for others, then you suddenly realize that you can be at that cause as well, which is really exciting. And yes, of course, I'd be lying if I didn't admit that running tons of ads for other people has helped, because it's cemented and solidified this idea that this is actually something possible. It's a reality where running ads profitably is very, very possible. It's just the norm. Of course, you're going to advertise. Of course, you're going to need to make yourself known to your ideal customer. How else are they going to find you? I mean, there are other ways, and I'm going to dive into them now. But having worked with tons of coaches and business owners from all walks of life and all ages and all ethnical backgrounds has really, really helped break my own limiting beliefs. So I'd say, know thyself. Understand what's stopping you from running your own ads. Is it a lack of money? Is it a lack of experience? Is it a lack of time? Is it that you think there's something wrong with you, with the way you talk, with the way you look? Really think about it, because you're not going to be able to address it until you shine light on it. And if my experience has helped in any way whatsoever, then really try and think how and where any of these actually apply to you. So with that being said, let's move away from ads for a second and let's talk about emails. Why did I never run emails for myself? It's an interesting one with emails. My first encounter with an email client acquisition system that was successful was actually when I was working in another agency, in a small e-commerce agency, and the entire system was built on email personalization with VAs from the Philippines. They were basically sending 100, 200 emails a day, and they were personalizing them. And I didn't really understand it at the time. Again, I must have discounted it, thought that only works for big agencies, for big brands. In hindsight, I realized that was just limiting and just not well thought out. The limiting beliefs there, the objections when I first started considering running emails for myself earlier last year was emails are expensive. Emails are saturated. Email lists are so easy to acquire. If I'm going to go to Apollo or D7 or any other lead scraper or lead generator and buy those leads, and everyone else will have bought the same leads, they're going to be so tired and overused with all kinds of pitches that they're just not going to work, and I'm going to lose my money. Before then, I didn't even know where to get leads from. Well, there's aggregators, there's lead sources, there are lead scrapers. There are people in India or anywhere else for that matter who can generate bespoke leads for you. And the heavyweights of advertising, Gary Holbert and Gary Vee, and more recent people as well, then they all agree that a list is worth its value in gold. And if you can find a way to discover your ideal customer in a list that's comprised of them and them only, be that lawyers, gardeners, I can't think of any examples right now, I'm brain freezing, but any service-based business, dentists, med spas, guttering, plumbing, fencing, rats, pest control, right? If you can find that list, you can email that list. If you can email that list, you're guaranteed to find clients out of it. So what's the problem there? Well, I thought leads are expensive. They're not. You can go on Aggregator now and you can buy a list of 10,000 emails for about $30. That's enough to get started. An email automation software is not expensive either. It's about $30. You can get that really quickly right now. Setting up emails, that is the kicker. If you're less technically inclined, then that could be a bit of a challenge. It took me I think a few hours to wrap my head around how to set up DKIM, DMARC, SPIF, all of that stuff. It's technicality, it's technobabble, but it's basic. It's just making sure that your emails get delivered and sent, and you can learn all of this on YouTube. Again, information's there. What's not there is your ability to focus, to not be distracted, to not talk yourself out of it, to postpone it for years and years and years. I can't think of how many people I've spoken to who just avoid doing that thing and end up working for other people. I'm guilty of that myself. And when you actually sit down and you realize that this is something you can crack in a few hours, or you can pay someone on Fiverr $200-300, well, $200 is a premium. You can probably pay them $20-30 to get it done in literally 4 hours, and then you have it. And it's a client acquisition machine that's going to serve you for your life, for life. Just take a moment to internalize that. This is something that you do once, and it's done. It'll never be the same. So focus and get it done by all means necessary. Don't let your lack of motivation, your laziness, or the fact that you're dopamine out and distracted stop you from actually sorting this thing out. It's the number one thing. When people speak of starting agencies, they focus on all these wrong things, websites, logo. None of that matters. You can literally start an agency without any of that with a list. If you have a list and if you have an email system, you're good. You're good to go. And then when it comes to saturation, well, of course, there's all kinds of ways to address that. It comes to how clever you are with your offer. That's a bit of a complex topic. We'll dive in another video. But again, the information is out there, so don't let that stop you. And for the love of everything holy, do not think that there is a perfect script that's going to get you there guaranteed. Do not think that there's a perfect list or a perfect niche that's not saturated that's going to wait for you to come, because none of that is true. Learn how to work in saturated niches, learn how to work with saturated lists, and learn how to work with imperfect scripts, and to adopt a growth and learning mindset where you're just testing and acquiring your own information. So with that out of the way, let's move on to the DM, which is my newest addition, and which, when I think back of, this is one that's been surfacing such personal limiting beliefs and blocks, such as imposter syndrome. Feeling like when you DM someone, it's not that different from cold calling someone. When you DM someone, you're physically exposing yourself to basically not being responded to, being ghosted, being rejected, being ridiculed. All of those things were running numbers in my head. And when I would finally sit down and do it, I would send 20, 30 DMs a day. I wouldn't be able to find the pace to do it all day, every day. Well, an hour a day or however long it takes, because I would get demotivated. I would think that I'm above that I'm better than just sending DMs manually. And to be fair, that is true. This is the kind of thing they should be leveraging, delegate and elevate. You shouldn't be doing that manually. But when you first start, when you're bootstrapped, when you're limited in time and resources primarily, you should be definitely doing that. Absolutely. And the reason why you're not doing it, the reason why I didn't do it, is because I felt like I wasn't ready. It's because I felt like I wasn't good enough, or that I didn't have anything additional to contribute to say that they haven't heard before. And all of those things may be true. And now there are ways to actually overcome that and to work around it. First of all, the number one thing that's made a difference in my personal experience, in my personal journey, was to actually automate the volume. So the first DM, I actually automate right now. I don't send it anymore. And then it's like, if it's uncomfortable, if it's hard, well, then at least make it so that it's hard and uncomfortable once. If you're going to motivate yourself to overcome these limiting beliefs, then don't kid yourself. Don't make it harder on yourself than it has to be. Because if you have to sit down every day and do it 20, 30 days, see, that's the problem with DMs. With DMs, you can't just block it out and do it in one sitting. I'm going to speak about how this is extremely effective when it comes to producing content in the next section in a minute. But for DMs, you can't do that because you have to send them every day. If you don't send them every day, well, you get your account blocked. And so that means every day you need to go through the same cycle of sitting down, talking yourself into it, prepping yourself up, motivating yourself, clearing your BS from your head, your limiting beliefs, your fears, all of that stuff until you get the momentum. Because once you get started, you notice it's actually quite easy. You send 5, 10, and then you might as well send 100. It's really not that hard. But then the next day, your hormones reset and you start from scratch. And I think with time, yes, with time, it gets better and better and better. But that, for me personally, it never actually went away fully. Instead, what did it for me was automating that. So now I actually sit down once, I put an entire list of contacts there, and I get it started. And the bot, the automation, does it all for me. It sends that first outreach. And it's basically transforming a cold system into a warm system, because now I get warm interest. People are raising their hand and they want to speak and they want to see more. And that makes it a lot easier to manage. It's a bit more time effective as well. And it just means that basically you're going through that whole process of starting and setting it up once, and then it serves you and it works for you for the foreseeable. And then finally, content, whether it's short form content, Reels, TikToks, or long form YouTube, or whether it's X, threads, text, blogs, emails, all of that stuff. This is one that has been very dear to me for the last 10 years since I started becoming a very avid YouTube viewer, and one that I've struggled with the most. I've set up so many accounts over the years and I've set up so many profiles, but for some reason I was never be able to stay consistent, and I always felt like I was missing something. And that's something that now, looking back at, I realized a few things. When it comes to content, if you make it about you, about your ego, then you are basically done, because it's nothing further from the truth. When it comes to producing, it's all about your ICP, your ideal customer, and you have to be ICP in mind first and foremost. It's not about how you look. It's not about how you get perceived. A lot of people don't start content because they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be embarrassed. They worry about what their friends are going to think about them. And I did too. They don't feel like they're ready. They don't have any idea about what to make content about. They think there is a perfect script. Once again, perfectionism at play. They think there is a perfect structure of videos. And they also think that if you don't make videos that go viral constantly, then videos don't have any time and place. And that is just simply not true, because Video content is just a nurturing mechanism. It's just your middle of funnel, so to say. If we're looking at this whole thing as a funnel, you're going to get eyeballs in the top of your funnel from all kinds of places, whether you're going to brute force it with email, with DMs, whether you're going to be running ads into it. The whole point of middle of funnel is to just give your prospects information, what they need and what they seek. And it's about them, it's not about you. So think about how you can serve your ideal client, how you can attract them. What is it that they search? What is it that they've seen 100 million times before from other gurus, from other content creators, but there's still a gap, there's still a question unanswered, and give that to them. And take it from a place of documenting your journey. Document the things that you're about, the things that you're acquiring, whatever problem you just left behind you, whatever problem you just overcame, someone else is still being kept up at night by it. And that's going to make it a lot easier to produce content and to basically stop this perfectionism from, stopping you from actually being consistent with it. So this has definitely been the biggest thing when it came to content. What else has helped me with content? To be completely transparent, paying for a videographer, paying for a video editor, because on one hand, I don't really like or have the time for that matter to edit videos. And on the other hand, I don't really want to. And if I have a video editor that's there waiting for me to drop a ton of reels on them, well, then I'm not going to afford the luxury of not doing it, because the debit's going out and these people are relying on my payment for their livelihood. And again, this is a baked accountability, baked in a buttery flake. It's baked accountability. It's something that you just can't deviate from, because you can trick yourself, you can lie to yourself, you can promise yourself things and not actually follow through. But when there's other people involved, then this is the next level. It's the game played at a different layer, and it's immensely helpful. Try it. If you don't do that, then pay for an accountability coach, join a program, join a group of friends who are trying to achieve the same thing, hold each other accountable. It's just futile and unnecessary to make it complicated by trying to crack it by yourself. I cannot stress this enough, and this actually permeates to the other areas that we discussed in this video. In fact, a lot of the limiting beliefs that apply to one channel apply to all of them. But basically, if you look at all of this holistically, then I hope that you find something in here that is holding you back in a blind spot, almost like you're trying to go from here to the end of that room and you just can't, because there's something holding you back. And then you finally look and there's this big nail holding your foot down, and you've never seen it before. And when you see it, at least you know what you're working with. It's giving you variables to address. Hope that helps. I'm going to be going hard on more limiting beliefs and mindset, because I firmly believe that there's already a ton of information and there's no gap in information. The gap is in beliefs, in mindsets, and in being coached, quite transparently. If you need help, then reach out. Don't make it too hard for yourself. Hope this helps. Until next time.